to get through undergrad, to continue into continuing education, to get sciences, to get into med school, and then in addition to medical school, I worked full-time, if not 2 full-time jobs at full-time. So from grunt work at restaurants to customer service to everything in between, all the way up to corporate, working with medical practices, financing firms, real estate firms, and things like that. So I know my way around a business, which is great, especially startups, which are always so fun for me. In addition to that experience, I'm an owner of Veritas Medical Solutions. You may or may not know Dr. Kelly Clow, some of you. He's my business partner, just so you know. Yeah, that's a task in and of itself. No, just kidding. He's awesome. He's awesome. So outside of Veritas, I actually work with Sweehaw to develop their curriculum for, it's actually their first board-certified nutrition program that they're offering. And so that's really fun and exciting. And then in addition to that, I'm also the co-founder of NaturoPath program with Dr. Chil. So all the way around, it's a pretty eclectic resume. I keep wanting to click my computer. But it still gets the job done. So since you know a little bit more about us and why we're even able to come speak to you, what our credentials are, right? Kind of know what we're talking about. We're also going to get into important keys to startup.
The first thing is we kind of gave you a handout. It's literally a quick cheat sheet of what you need to do. It's 10 steps that you should have. If you don't have it, come to us at the end and we'll email you a copy of it as well. It just goes over how to set up an LLC, what to do in regards to setting up an LLC, what you need to look for in regards to other resources. It's just a great cheat sheet that you have to start. It doesn't go over all the little details of everything. It's really just broad strokes. The details are going to come later with our classes. And of course, we can't give you everything in an hour. So we wanted to give you at least something to go home with.
And this is just the state of Arizona, which I know not all of you probably plan on practicing in, right? And so every state's going to be a little bit unique. They're going to have their own corporate commission and resources, but the steps in terms of naming, getting licensed, figuring out tax structure, all that's going to be the same across the board. So this is just a great way to kind of see, if you're completely green, and have zero idea of business and what it's going to take, this is a great outline for that. So in addition to the handout, the 10 steps, I thought it'd be kind of cool for you guys to get to know yourselves a little bit more. Because a lot of us say, I want to be an entrepreneur, I don't want a boss. But then you do a few inventories and intakes and assessments and you realize, I'm more of a team player than I thought. So maybe I should be a high-ranking employee somewhere or work with other groups of physicians versus doing my own thing. So this is a great little assessment for you to delve into yourself as both an entrepreneur and a future physician, really, to see where you land now. Because that's going to change, right, as you grow your skill set, both as a physician and a business owner and things like that. So we really thought that was a really great tool for you all. Which brings us to the next bullet.
Another important key or step in starting up is really to have a lot of resources around you. You have 2 great resources right here with both Dr. Jacquie and I. Our contact information is going to be on the back, so use us as a resource. If you have any questions throughout this whole process of starting up and things along those lines, shoot us an email. We're willing to help. Like we said in the beginning, we're wanting to expand this profession and give you guys all the tools that you need. There's a lot of great mentors out there. In this naturopathic community, we're a family. We want to help each other succeed. And so find good mentors, find good doctors that you really connect with, and ask if they want to be a mentor to you. Most doctors will be like, yes, and they'll kind of help you in regards to being a mentor for the doctor. And then if they have their own practice, they'll also maybe go into steps of like what they did in starting their practice.
Yeah, it's really cool to have somebody that you can shadow in more than a clinical way, especially if they emulate what you want to do. If you want to be an independent contractor and work at 3 different clinics and not own your own, find somebody who does that. If you want to own your own, find somebody who does that, right? So, and you can piecemeal that together. It's really about educating and empowering yourself. So balance research and action, the next bullet. That to me is really important because a lot of us can overplan and not take that step and miss opportunities, okay? So we really, and a lot of us, and some of us can take action without planning. And either way, it's not a great balance. You're gonna fumble, which is still a learning experience, which is great, but to avoid as many problems in speed bumps as we can, we really want to balance the two. So it's about planning, researching, knowing what you want to do, but not being afraid to take action. So balancing those two is a huge pearl of advice that I can give you, because one of us in my practice is an action taker and one is a planner, and neither one of us would be as successful if we didn't work together. So, be adaptable.
Leads right into the next
Yeah.
point. Really, you have to be adaptable. You may think you want to do one thing when you get out. It can completely change on you. Kind of like what happened with me, which I'll kind of go into a little bit later as well. You want to be able to be flexible enough where you can change with the environment and things around you, especially with business situations. They're constantly changing. And so you just have to make sure that you're not so stuck in your ways that you can't change with it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to adapt, and your business is not going to be able to adapt as well.
Which is so important for survival. Okay, guys? The looking for opportunity is, once you have doctor attached to your name, I know it's hard now as students to know this. I totally didn't. People would tell me, but I didn't really assimilate it until I got out. And as soon as doctor is on your name, regardless of the ND, NMD, MD, DO, people want you to do things for them. Come speak at their facility, speak with their group, teach this, take on this project. There are constantly going to be opportunities, okay, because of that. So really looking for those opportunities in places that you want to find them, okay? I'm not a huge fan of certain types of practicing, right? I like to go out and do corporate wellness and speaking and trainings and things like that. So that is where I had to search for my opportunities, where a lot of you want to be clinicians, which I love and we need. So focusing on patients and opportunities for patients and things like that, okay? So with opportunities, I do a caveat want to add, learn how to say no if it's not what you want, okay? Because it's just going to waste your time and energy, and we all know, being exhausted med students, that is precious commodity, okay? Time and energy. Focus it on what is really going to help you get to where you want to be.
Goes back to knowing yourself, You guys are in the right profession. There are so many opportunities for you when you guys get out. Whether to start your own practice, be an independent contractor with somebody, be an instructor. It's literally endless. Like Dr. Jacquie said, you need to learn how to say no.
And learn what you want.
Things.
And sometimes, you have to take on a project and complete it, and you're exhausted at the end and you realize you never want to do it again, and lesson learned, right? But that's where the whole balance of planning and action come into play. So you're taking action, finishing a project, but you're planning ahead knowing you don't want to recreate it, right? You want to deviate in some way. So it's constant re-inventory. Who am I? What do I want? Okay, this fits, this doesn't, moving forward, right? And that's something that you really need to work on thinking when you're in such a regimented program where they kind of force feed you. You have to be here on Monday from 10 to 12 and here on Tuesday and this test on this day. And so it's kind of handed to you, right? So really work on your independent thinking and self-exploration while you're in school so that you're kind of not a deer in headlights when you graduate. Okay, what's next? You've kind of done that work along with the program at the same time. Balancing divergent thinking versus your regimented programming. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our personal experience, not only our little resumes that we already jumped into, but more what was our actual experience with an ND practice.
So how I started out was, I was one of the few that set up before I started school. Yeah. So I was in a corporation and I was working full-time and then going to school full-time just to try to get prereqs. But I researched what it took to start up a practice, how much it cost. So I saved up in the 2 years before I started school. So when I ended school, I already had money to start my practice. Now, you don't always need to do that, and we'll go into that as well. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. But I wanted a partner, and I knew I didn't want to kind of start my practice myself. I wanted to do it with somebody else. So the first 3 years, I was literally looking through my class and being like, you would be good, you would be good.
Start now.
Yeah, exactly. So
can I get a copy of your resume?
and then at the 3-year mark, I approached a couple people, and I ended up with a partner, that great business person, and life just happened. She ended up getting pregnant and ended up just being a mother for like the first year when we started. So I ended up being like a sole proprietor at the end of that. So you think one thing and something else can happen. But that goes right into my practice pearls. We had everything documented. I learned this from my prior business. Every meeting that we did, we had meeting minutes. And so any small thing, even if you spent 5 cents on a piece of paper, you write it down. And then if another person spent 5 cents, you write it down, because it's gonna save you with litigation at the end of the day. So that's what I did with my partner. We wrote everything down, and we literally I stated on our operations agreement, what happens if you get pregnant, you know, and this, what happens if I get married and get divorced, you know, and we literally went to like section 13.2.2, and we're like, this is what we need to do. And now we are still really close colleagues, close friends. I talk to her every day. And if that wouldn't have happened, if we didn't write everything down and have everything in a legal document, we literally wrote down, you spent this 5 cents on this piece of paper, you know? And that's gonna go into my next topic, which is risk and mitigations. When you're going into practice, you literally have to go into, what if this happens? If this does happen, how do we solve it? You know, and there's a lot out there in regards to what types of risks there are and how you mitigate those risks. And we're gonna go into a little bit of detail into that as well in our business programs. We're gonna literally give you all our risks and mitigations, so you won't have like a lot to do with that. And you can incorporate what you need to do in your practice. The next thing is start small.
Big one.
Yeah. There's a lot of practitioners out there that start big. They start out a clinic, you know, that has like 10 rooms, and then they're like stuck for like 7 years. Think about that. You're stuck for 7 years in that practice, having to pay the overhead for that. So I actually started with a bigger practice as well, but it was maybe just 2 or 3 rooms, and I didn't even need all those rooms. You know, you literally only need like a couple days a week at a place where you could just put your patients in just for a couple of days. And there's so many practices out there where you can either sublease or rent just for a couple days a week, and start your practice that way. So you're not held to something. And there's a lot of things where you can do where it's like either a month-to-month lease, or even like a 3-month, 6-month, or a year lease, instead of being stuck in something and being like, I can't get out of this, and then you're having to pay for that. When you start out, you're not gonna have a ton of patients. You're not gonna be booked, you know, every day of the week. You may be lucky if you're booked 2 days a week, you know, and that's lucky and being prepared. And that's actually enough. If you're booked 2 days a week, you're making decent amount of money.
Obviously,
you know?
depending on what you charge, which we get into in the modules
Right.
as well.
But a big lesson that I learned was I needed to start out even smaller than what I did before. I was lucky enough where I had a month-to-month lease where I can actually get out of that, and now I'm in a smaller space. I am making more money and have less overhead, you know, in 2 rooms instead of like the 4 rooms that I had.
So that's really a testament to his adaptability, right? And the fact that he had everything documented. So if I bit off more than I can chew, go to section 7.7.8, and it tells me what the next steps are, right? So all of his pearls, I totally learned as well in my first year. His are awesome. I think they're priceless. The way I got started was the exact opposite. I had zero idea what I wanted to do. I took boards. I had a 5-week vacation. And then Dr. Kelly and I got our P's in the mail, and we're like, what are we gonna do? Do you want to start a practice? Sure. So he is probably one of, he kind of like, how do I say this? He really took a lot of the brunt in med school in terms of helping me. He's a big science background, physics and all that stuff. And because of my business background, I was more invested in wanting to start this business. And so I felt like the balance would be really good. Like he said, he was like shopping for a partner, where my study buddy and best friend just happened to fit the mold. So, it can happen really organically, or you can plan, which is great. I mean, it just depends on your character, what makes you feel better. I thought I was just going to get a job for like a year, get my training wheels in clinics. I knew I didn't want to be a resident, but you just kind of decide, and it's crunch time. And from there, a lot of the same steps were exactly what Dr. Chil did, right? We documented everything, we wrote everything down, we mitigated our risks and potential scenarios, found a space, and we have 2 rooms, and share with a chiropractor and massage therapist and stretch therapist, which is great for inter-referrals and things like that. And we found out the end of September we passed. By October, we had our license to practice and our, we were with the corporate commission, we registered, and then by December, we saw our first patient. So it took us about 3 months to give you an idea of versus years of planning, right, and saving, which is still great. It just, again, whatever fits for you. So now we're 2 years out. I graduated in 2013, that July. And 2 years out, in addition to his pearls, which are amazing, please really, I hope you paid attention because they're great. The 3 things I learned, or the pearls that I wanted to offer today, is number 1 is organization. Organization from your documents to the way you correspond to people, to your communication, to your team and efforts, to your chart notes and your patients. I mean, the more organized you are, it's the 80-20 rule, if any of you know that rule, right? You work really hard up front, you get really organized, set up a system, and it kind of takes care of itself downwind. Otherwise, you're constantly working just as hard up front as you were through the whole process, right? And again, time and energy is a commodity that we don't have a whole lot of. So organization is so important, especially scheduling, which brings me to the next one, time management, okay? I want a life. I am done working 60 hours a week on top of going to school full time when I got out. I was like, I'm my own boss. If I have enough to take care of myself and my standard of living, and I have my sanity, then that's more important to me. Right? You obviously want to have multiple revenue streams, which we'll talk about, and be successful. But to me, success is more my sanity and my health. So for me, after 4 years of med school, I really wanted to take a back seat. I have an entire day, guys. Every Monday is my admin day. So whether I'm working on content for the PATH program, for a corporate event, for my trainings that I do for PRP, or I just want to sleep till 10 a.m. That is the day to do what I want.
Do whatever you want.
And that's what I'm talking about, time management and balance, balancing life, balancing patience, right? Every Wednesday is a corporate thing. So I take the morning to sleep in, work out, be healthy, and then in the afternoon, that's when I always do presentations, right, for corporate accounts that we have. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are my patients, and Fridays are my procedures. So I have a very organized day, know what every day is going to consist of, how to mentally prepare for that day. I look at the end of the day to my next day, so I'm not stressing out what do I have to do this day. So time management is so essential to maintaining your health, your sanity, and then the quality of care you offer your patients and the quality of the programs that you're going to create for other people, right? That's so indicatively important. And we want to really follow our philosophy, right, as naturopaths. We're whole beings, so why kill ourselves one day longer than we have to? We got through med school, so that's enough for me. The last one is diversification, which you saw on my mini CV, right? I also create curriculum. I'm also going to be an online faculty with SWIHA. I do PATH program for you all, PRP trainings at our clinic. Dr. Kelly does, he teaches here, he sees patients, he does prolo. Dr. Chil, being an independent contractor at 2 other locations, the PATH program, and his own practice. So diversify, because if one stream of income ends up not being successful or takes a little bit more prodding until it, you see the benefits of it, you have other areas to help support you. Okay, so you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, basically, is the bottom line.
Especially the first couple of years.
Especially the first couple of years. I mean, yeah.
Sorry, and then it makes you more sane. It's more exciting that way too, because if you're seeing patients all day, at least in my experience,
for both of us,
yeah, you kind of get burnt out after a while, and that doesn't do the patients justice. You're not a good doctor at that point, so you want to be able to do other things that are gonna feed your soul as well, so you could be a good doctor for those patients.
And if you see a need, we're not robots here. Mm-hmm. We saw a need. We said, hey, HPBH is awesome for what it is, but how do I sign? What is a domain name versus hosting? I don't know. they don't talk about the basics, right? They don't talk about the baby steps. And so I saw a personal need. I want us to be successful as a whole, okay? Half of all startup businesses, 5 in 10 businesses that start up fail in the first 5 years. 8 out of 10 naturopathic practices fail in the first 5 years. We're worse than the statistics for the general small business. So both of us are super passionate about changing those numbers. And it starts with programs like this. We saw a need, we wanted to fill it, right? You can do the same thing. You don't like something at the school, or you really like something at the school, you want to develop it further. That's what diversification means. Finding a need and filling it, okay? Oh, God, I keep doing this. I know, I'm so rich. Okay, so, and always, regardless, first year out, second year out, 20th year out, okay? These are the top 3 things that we really found across the board need to be of the highest standard to be successful. Communication, obviously, what do you expect of me? What do I expect of you? Where did we exceed? Where did we meet? Where did we fall short? And how do we change that moving forward? This isn't personal. You're going to hear it a lot. It's just business, because it really is. Okay, so really getting clear on communication. Emailing, maintaining communication with patients, follow through. That's so, so important. Across the board, colleagues, patients, people that you work with on projects, it's just really essential to have the highest quality communication you can.
Yeah, and then just maintaining your integrity throughout, know where your moral compass is. And then you're a doctor at the end of the day still. So just make sure you maintain that professionalism throughout everything that you do.
Yeah, you want to be friends with some patients, or you want to own a practice and have a student intern, or things happen to where lines can get crossed. So to me, it's really important, and I've learned this my first 2 years out, is boundaries. Boundaries and integrity, right? Be as transparent, no excuses, no sorries. Took me 3 days because I was really busy. Emailed you now, take it or leave it. You know what I mean? I think we apologize and skirt issues, or, we don't need to do that. It's cut and dry, black and white. Have integrity. That's it. Just have integrity with your actions.
Yep.
Again, know yourself, know your moral compass, like you said.
And if you set expectations throughout everything, then you guys will be able to kind of just follow a guideline. As long as you set expectations from the very beginning.
Expectations in the sense of what you want to accomplish, because if you fall short personally and you want to take a day off in the middle of the week, those types of personal expectations, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. But I think with expectations, it's just, especially team projects and things like that, you are responsible for this step and you need to follow through. It's like a big group project. How many people have carried the weight of that slacker in a group, right? Nobody wants to be that slacker, so just don't be the slacker. Communicate, have integrity, and last but not least, your thoughts are powerful, guys. You are what you think.
Yeah, you literally can create whatever you want. That's why we both got into this profession, because we wanted to create our own business and our own practice, and it's happening now, but it started with a thought. So just have that in your thinking process.
Just check yourself,
yeah.
Right? If you doubt yourself, your practice will be doubtful. Your patients will doubt your treatments. People that hire you to speak will doubt your efficacy. We're naturopaths. People doubt us already, guys. We can't doubt ourselves on top of that. Come on, where's that going to get us, right? We have to really have confidence. And when you meet resistance, we were just talking about this the other day with the PATH program, we're meeting a little bit of resistance and timing and making it work. That is the time to work harder. Because as soon as you get through the resistance is the success. And I can tell you through practice, through education, through any projects I've ever done, it's hitting the resistance and still pushing forward. Because that resistance will make you fail every time. Because you doubt yourself, right? Again, we don't need that. So believe in what you do and believe in yourself. It's so important. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our program we've created.
So ND-PATH program is literally just a step-by-step program for you to kind of have all the tools that you need to start a practice, maintain it, and expand it. It's literally going to give you everything that you need in the business aspect of it. So you can just focus on being what you love to do, which is a doctor, right? It's literally going to be a step-by-step approach to everything that you need.
Yeah, it's like I said with those statistics, guys. We have a big gap, right, with our education that we get for business. And unless you have an MBA like Chil has, Dr. Chil, then you really need to work a little bit harder in addition to med school to get that acumen up, right? I mean, that need, I'm just really passionate about it, sorry, because I'm just totally convinced that we can be great business people and great caregivers. We just can. And we're pioneers. You know, when I started school, or I decided I wanted to start, there were 4 states that were licensed for naturopathic medicine. And what is it, like 17 now? Right? Am I accurate on that?
17 plus the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and
Wow, she knows
Wow.
it. That's awesome. So we're going to be, national one day. And when that happens, we need really strong people who are not just great clinicians, but great business people and can carry us in our industry. Okay? We need to help people. Go ahead.
We were literally like, what did we need when we started, and that's what this program is. It's the things that we went through and we're like, we need this, we didn't get this in school, we need this, we didn't get this in school, and so we wanted to kind of share that with you guys.
Yeah, and I love Joanna Hagan. She works really hard on creating content for you guys. She gives a lot of content in a short period of time, which can be a lot to digest, and so a lot of it is accurate. However, we really expound on that, okay? We want to give you an opportunity to do some hands-on activities. We create a lot of things that could be pages of text and just throw it in tables and charts for you to get a quick look at what certificates and licenses do I need to practice? What kinds of entity options do I have to register with the state? What type of tax options do I have to talk to my CPA about? What does CPA mean? All of those little things. There are no stupid questions. We're starting from the people who have never stepped foot and had a day job in their life versus, all the way up to the people who, like us, have some background. You're going to get help. You're going to get questions answered. You're going to get information you need. So we broke it up into 3 modules, and that could change. If you guys give us feedback and say, hey, we want more time, 5 modules would be better so we can do X, Y, Z, within that time frame. We're all about making it what you need, okay, and honing our skill set to make it, to make you successful, really. So module 1 is foundations. Oh, go ahead.
I just had a really basic question. Is this for a fee or is this free or?
That is something we're working with naturepreneurs to figure out. We do usually do a fee, but they may or may not. We're trying to figure that out right now with what that means to you as students. Yeah, that was a great question. So module 1 is getting started foundations. You can kind of see the list up there. Okay, super basic. Just making you legal, legitimate, and able to see patients without breaking the law. Okay? Number 2, how do you accept payment? How do you, basics of a website, how do you do your day-to-day operations? What do you charge? What are you going to focus on? Your population versus your modalities, exploring all of that. And last but not least is really developing marketing, okay? How are you going to be successful? You have to know people and people who know people, right? So more website development, printed materials like brochures, signage, trade shows. Are you going to do all that stuff? Do you want to do all that stuff, And kind of really expanding the practice. Staffing, are you going to do everything yourself? Do you want to start with yourself and then have an employee? What type of employee and scenario do you want? So we really tried to take the general basics of the 3 to 6 months it takes to create a practice from the time you get your keys in the mail to the time you open your doors and physically see your first patient, check them in, have the visit, charge them, check them out, and schedule their follow-up, right? And everything in between. That's really the goal of the program. Did you have a question?
Are you only going to do this for people who want to practice in Arizona, or are you going to talk about unlicensed states, or are you going to talk about the states that are licensed but don't have the same scope of practice? Like, how much of that are
Great question. We're going to talk about it all. So we don't talk about, because things like that are universal, like Google Voice, right? Having your own free phone number, having a website, having a Facebook. All of those are universal. So the only thing that changes essentially, which we do discuss, is what your corporate commission is to register with your state, and what's the licensing board in that state, if there is one. Or do you need to park your license in Vermont in order to work in an unlicensed state? So we talk about all of that. We focus on the top 5 states that people have told us they want: California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Hawaii, and Vermont. So if there's anything in more detail that we can go into, that's great. But again, this is really outside of that small difference of the website you go to fill out your app and pay for your license. Everything else is the same. The steps are the same, the process, the timing. The fees are different, but that's, like I said, essentially it. So yeah, we definitely go over that. We do focus on Arizona because that's our experience, but we definitely discuss other states and unlicensed states.
You're literally gonna have charts of like what type of doctor you want to be. You're gonna be like, okay, I want to be that type of doctor. So you're gonna click that box, and it's gonna show how much it's gonna cost, what everything that's associated with it, what type of structure you want to be in, what type of tax you want to be in, what type of vendors. We're gonna literally compare and contrast all the vendors that are out there for you, because when we started, we're like, what vendor do we go to? How do
There's
we order
like
supplies?
20 labs,
there's
there's 20
exactly.
McGuffs, yeah.
It's
so.
going to even break down all of that. And then you're going to be able to incorporate what type of doctor you want to be, what type of structure you want, and then you're going to be able to incorporate that into an accounting program, whether it be QuickBooks or something else. And we're going to show you how to do even the accounting portion of it
Basic
as well.
finances, the whole 9 yards,
It's
guys.
literally, we're holding your hands throughout this whole process.
And we compare and contrast platforms.
Yep.
Sorry to step on your words.
Good.
Compare and contrast platforms for websites. Compare and contrast merchant services for, do you want Square Swiper, Intuit Swiper? How to import and export those, end of day batches in terms of finances into your own system. What kind of system do you even want? So we really do. There's no stone left unturned. And if there is, tell us so we can turn it over. That's what we want to do for you. That's really the goal here. So we're kind of playing with dates right now and trying to reserve rooms, but fingers crossed, we're looking at November 7th or 8th, that weekend, to launch Module 1 for you guys. Uh-oh, I got a head shake.
I just already know I have something that weekend.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to find a weekend where you guys don't. Oh, it is. Okay.
We'll figure out another.
So maybe how about the weekend right before Thanksgiving break?
Yeah.
You guys aren't stressed out. It's past midterms, right?
Yeah.
Past midterms. Does that work out? Decent timing? Maybe we can do that.
First week of December.
If you guys can do us a favor, Dylan's going to email you electronic copies of the handouts you got today, as well as our PowerPoint, and I've been recording it. So when you get that email, just email him back and let him know availability or feedback, what you guys think, all that good stuff. That's what we need to develop it and make it exactly what you guys want.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we gave you enough information that it was worth it to come here today, besides the lunch and everything too.
Thank you so much for coming. Does anybody have, we want to open the floor for questions now.
Do you guys have any podcasts that were helpful for you in your time as a student? I personally listened to Chil Johnson's Build Your Tribe, and what made me think of that was you had their passive income, and I listened to an episode on that, which was really interesting. So I was wondering if you had any, because iTunes there's tons, so if there was one that shaped your experiences as you were a student, for entrepreneurial stuff.
I personally don't listen to podcasts. I probably should. I know they're really great, and I want to start my own, so it's probably good to investigate that. Yeah, thanks. But at this point, it was really just my mentors. I'm really kind of like right on the cusp of being too old to be into that techie stuff, but I'm too young to have a Rolodex. So I kind of just went for my sweet spot, which was a lot of Googling and a lot of mentor and resource, asking questions, having meetings, I was that annoying person taking notes, following them around. How many cc's was that? What syringe was that? So that's kind of how I really started.
Okay.
And I just used my background and then did everything from just my
That's a great
story and my
resource,
background.
I find that it's helpful when I'm getting ready or doing my makeup, I just have it playing.
Yeah.
That's great.
There's an audiobook that's really good. It's The Art of War. It's just by Stephen Pressfield.
It's so good.
And it just talks about resistance and overcoming that and starting your practice.
Any other questions? Sorry. I want to really answer them before you guys go.
So it looks like you're projecting to do things over the weekend. That's a Saturday and Sunday.
Ideally. Yeah, just because of availability for you guys.
I want to understand you're offering this to the school.
And then,
Yeah, we do.
Hey guys, 1 second. He just asked a question.
Oh, sorry for everyone
Go ahead.
attending. So he asked, we want to offer this through the school, but do we offer stuff outside of the school or this program? Attend on a weekend?
Yeah, we can't do a full weekend.
Oh no, it's a 1 day. We're figuring out Saturday or Sunday, but it's a 9 to 4, right? It's an all-day thing, just like any other workshop. We do offer our services outside as consultants. It's probably easier to get a group of like 2 to 4 people together, especially if you want to go into practice together or have similar questions. And both or one of us, you know, if you resonate with one more than the other or want to emulate one more than the other, just, you know, feel free to email or call us. And we definitely do after hours and weekend kind of consulting with students. Yeah, great question. Any other questions? Whoa, before I flick this off my body.
That's our company's number.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Path Program specifically, not our practices because they're separate. So that way both of us get the call, both of us get the email, both of us can help. So this is the best way regarding the Path Program specifically. If you want to talk to us separately about our own practices or experience, feel free to call or email us. Dylan in the email, I'll include that info too so you can have it to forward.
Any questions?
So could you elaborate on the pros and cons of establishing yourself as a specialist or a PCP? Because I vaguely remember something about the return phone calls have to be done within 24 hours and that kind of thing, one versus the other.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, it comes down to what you want to do. You know, like if there's like, you want to keep it at like 3 specializations. For me, it was pain management, aesthetics, and then gastro.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have it at 3, you can be not the best. You can keep it at where you're going to be good at all 3 of those things, and it's easier for like the public to kind of latch onto.
Yeah, it's just a lot easier. I feel for me, specializing is better because it fits my personality and my goals better. I refer to PCP, like Dr. Grice, if you guys know, Dr. Wolf, you know, they were all in my class. They're the 2nd-year residents now. And so I refer to them for acupuncture, homeopathy, general care, because I just want to do procedures and classes and teaching. That's just my strong suit. It's just what I love to do. I'm very kinesthetic and hands-on. So again, knowing yourself is part of that process. But for me, I just love procedures more than PCP, being a primary care physician, which again, just figure out what you really like, you know? And if you are a primary care physician, having some small specialties, like Dr. Chil just said, is gonna be helpful, because what your primary care, so if I had an acute URI and I came in, you could help me, but if I had a chronic, like, case of Crohn's, could you also help me? Because that specialty, do you do GI? Do you know what I mean? Or do you know a little bit about a lot of things, or do you know a lot about a couple of things? And people are gonna come to you either way, you just have to figure out what makes more sense for you. Great question, though. Any other questions? No more? Cool. You guys are free.
Okay, we'll email it to you. 'Cause we're out of
Here's this is a leftover quiz. We don't have the 10 steps yet now, physically, but that's the little assessment.
Gigi.